I am. Thanks to traffic? Yes, thanks. But either way, we are here on a Friday morning. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week to chat about what's going on in the world of weather. And if I may say so, it is a stunning start to the day. But in the words of LeVar Burton, you don't have to take my word for it. All right, let's look outside. Wow, look at that shot. Beautiful from... Oh, and it's gone. It's because Kellyanne's changing cameras, I guess. It was beautiful for like a half a second. All right, there's the Disney Springs area. That's at least lovely, too. She's changing cameras. That's okay. The sun was coming up, though, over in Tavares. It was a lovely, lovely start to the day. Did you notice a shift in temperatures, by the way? Temperatures have come up now, but a couple of minutes ago, it wasn't cool. But it had just a little less humidity than we're used to. And I'm here for it. 77 degrees in Orlando. It's 79 in Leesburg, 74 in the Villages, 75 in Palm Coast, and 74 degrees in Palm Bay. So it is beautiful out this morning. But take a look at our first warning live Doppler radar. There are already some thunderstorms out north of us and west of us that we're watching. So, for example, Marion County. Well, let's just zoom in there first, okay? Around Ocala, a little bit of rain right along 200 there. Kind of see it blossoming up, doing its thing around Denellen. We've had some rain. But look out west, right? Like there's some showers and even some thunderstorms firing up out around Crystal River. That's going to work into Hernando and Rutland, Lake Pennsauken, eventually Wildwood. So there's a little bit of stormy weather out this morning. Not a bad start to the day by any means. But later today, we're going to get our thunderstorms today. Yes, we are. 86 degrees our 11 o'clock temperature. 89 degrees our 1 p.m. temperature. 92 degrees our 3 p.m. temperature. A 50% coverage of showers and thunder showers. It's going to get, I think, to be a pretty stormy afternoon. So certainly plenty to discuss there. But in addition, of course, to that, we've got the tropics to deal with. So we've got a very, very busy coffee talk ahead. All right. So let's just look at things, see where we are. Here we are this morning. Futurecast, I think, doing a great, you know what? Wrong Futurecast. That's the more rapid updating. Let's start here. This is the main Futurecast, all right? And the rains are around. Notice through 11, 11:30, 12 o'clock, already firing up storms kind of in our north and western areas. Not a complete washout, but storms starting around 11, 12 o'clock. So Beverly's asking, what time does the rain hit DeLand? There's lunchtime, not far after the storms move in. Mickey's talking about Major Hurricane Hillary. We're definitely going to be talking about Hillary and the rest of the tropics in just a couple of minutes, but I've got to take care of our local stuff first, right? So there's 1 o'clock moving into the metro, 2 thunderstorms, and then by about 3, 4 o'clock, everything works off to the east. The good news is 5, 6, 7 o'clock, things are looking quieter. I'm heading out to UCF tonight around this time. It's going to be a late night. And it's looking like it's going to be a nice night. Love that for us. Justin's asking about the Villages. The Villages early-ish. So the further west you are, the earlier the storms start up. In terms of stormy weather today, it looks like everything kind of starts off in the western areas this morning. And then it kind of shifts through the area, through the metro and off to the east. So that's where we're at. Now, in terms of severe risks for today, the good news is we're really not watching much other than the flooding concerns. And that flooding concern is kind of the Orlando metro off to the east. So that's where we're at in terms of the forecast today. So as we're looking at the day, it's beautiful outside right now. Get out and enjoy. Yesterday, Alicia and I went flying early-ish in the day. It's not going to take long until we get those dark skies rolling in. And, of course, those thunderstorms firing up. Lunchtime, 88, 91, 2 p.m., 92 degrees by 3 o'clock. And there are those darker skies rolling into Central Florida. So that's where we're at in terms of our local forecast. Any questions, any comments, any concerns? Otherwise, we can look at our 7-day forecast. and then get to the tropics because there's a lot to discuss. There's Central Florida's certified most accurate 7-day forecast. Storms around this weekend. It's going to be a stormy one. And then look at next week. The overall weather pattern, dry next week. And of course, that's going to lend to some building heat, which I'm not a fan of. Thursday, 95 degrees, getting hot. Yup. And then, of course, Thursday night, we have Cruise 7. I'll be out with the Weather Lab pulling an all-nighter. Is it a 3 a.m. deal? I have to look, but there it is. It's going to be hot as snot. Glad it's an overnight launch so I can at least enjoy some comfortable temperatures at the Kennedy Space Center. Whew. Yeah. All right, any questions, comments, concerns about our local stuff? Otherwise, we can get to the smorgasbord that is the tropics. So much happening out there. Any questions? Any comments? Any concerns? Anything? Diane says 349. Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to the boss, also known as the wife, and I was like, yeah. So it's going to be an all-nighter, and basically, I think that I'm probably going to end up like getting home right about the time that that like everybody is waking up to do the morning routine. So maybe I'll help them get out the door, and then I'll go to sleep. Something like that. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Did you show the rain for high school football games tomorrow in Brevard? We talked about the storm chances remaining relatively high through the weekend. But let's do this. Let's take a look at Futurecast, not just for today. We can review today real quick, and then we can look at this weekend as well, because why not? We run this show, Tabitha. We run this show. Coffee Talk, you and me and everybody else. All right, so there's the storms this afternoon working off to the east. Let's go ahead and look at tomorrow. Starting nice and quiet. Look at that. I'll see on West 2 News sunrise. Beautiful. Maybe a couple of coastal showers. And then into the afternoon, the model's doing a terrible job. Okay. May have to pop over to Beta Futurecast. All right, so it's showing plenty of storms. All right, hold on. Let's pop over to Beta Futurecast. Every now and then, our regular Futurecast is kind of garbage. So every now and then that happens. So here's Friday. See those popcorn storms around. Yeah, that's fine. Saturday morning looking good. There's your sea breezes getting going, right? 4, 5, 6, kind of firing things up and working off to the east. There's definitely a pattern shift. And that's as far out as it goes. So there's definitely a pattern shift for us tomorrow where instead of it being west to east, we're going to start to see kind of a more east to west motion. But you can see around the metro area around 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then our western areas get rain. So I'd say that depending on the time, Tabitha, of the football games, we should be good. All right. Any other questions about our local forecast? Nancy says, bring the tropics. Sarah, have you seen the hurricane in the Pacific? Have you heard the story about that? Yeah. All right, so let's start with that, and then we can move on to our Atlantic stuff. Tell me it's an El Nino year without telling me it's an El Nino year. There is Hurricane Hillary. It is a Category 4 storm working closer and closer to Baja California. Wow. Like, look at the satellite presentation on that beast. That is a remarkable looking storm system. Seriously. I mean, that's a hurricane. All right. So where does Hillary go? Let's take a look. All right. Next couple of days around the Baja of California. But this is what's interesting. According to the latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center, you end up with a tropical storm kind of working into Southern California on Sunday night. How often? The last time a tropical storm moved into Southern California, I believe was in the 1930s. So it has happened. But the amount of people that have been around for that, not so much. So that's crazy. That's a remarkable storm system. I mean, just looking at the basics of it, it's really something. But it makes sense when you look at the overall idea that, we've got very warm waters in the Atlantic, but moreover, that El Nino has absolutely formed. And that El Nino is the reason for those warmer water temperatures than average over in the Pacific Basin. So there you go. Anne Marie's asking, since when does California get hurricanes? Again, this is not the first time that it has happened where Southern California has gotten a tropical storm, but the last time it happened was in the 1930s. I believe it was 1939. Justin's asking, but why does it feel rare that a hurricane is on its way to Southern California? Because the last time that it happened and made it into Southern California was 1939. So that's rare. That's rare, right? Deb, are they prepared there for a hurricane? No, they're not even prepared for rain. So no, they're not prepared for a hurricane. Now, the model data shows that it should be a tropical storm by the time it gets there, but it just depends. I mean, Hillary has absolutely rapidly intensified in the Pacific. So it's a possibility that it gets there as a hurricane. And I didn't look to see when the last time was that a hurricane, if ever, hit Southern California. But no, they're not prepared for that sort of thing. Flash flood. I've got, let's see. Flash flood advisories are posted. Give me a second. So I don't know if this graphic will work because I don't know if I have flash flood watches on here. Yeah, I don't have watches. All right, hold on a second. Give me a minute. Again, I don't know if this one's going to work or not. Yeah, but you can see, it says till 8 p.m. Ignore that. But you've got the idea. There are flood watches, and more than likely will be flash flood watches also posted, or are also posted. So yeah. Kim says Eric is right. We lived in Southern California. They are not prepared for rain even in the rainy season. It never rained in the summer there. Right. So this is going to be a thing. I could tell you that our sister station, KCRA, has already asked me for some assets. So even on my day off today, I'm going to be doing some things to help support our two California sister stations that we have. One in the Central Coast, one in the Northern Coast. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch. Yeah. Oliver says, I thought San Diego was required to be clear and 75 every day. Yeah. I think that by law it is, but somebody will have to ticket Mother Nature. Okay, Aaron says, and I haven't independently verified it, but it seems about right. The last hurricane known was 1858 in Southern California. The last tropical storm was 1939. Though that sounds interesting. Yeah, so that sounds like it could be right, but either way, we'll watch. But yeah, so KSBW, I've got to get them some assets, and then KCRA, our sister stations in California, will be getting them taken care of. Christy says KCRA 3 out of Sacramento is my childhood news station. I will be sending them stuff to help them cover Hillary. Yeah. All right. So that's the Pacific. That is of no threat to us. But let's come over and look at the Atlantic side. There is 1, 2, 3, 4 systems that we are watching in the Atlantic side. I had somebody post, and I thought it was hilarious. They wrote, that's not the kind of rainbow that I like to see on weather forecasts. And I was like, that's cute. I like that. So obviously I would agree. Not a huge fan. But at any rate, so let's talk about it. First off, for the most part, of the four, none of them are really a huge concern. Here's a look at all the development chances, okay? What you're looking at is a product from the National Hurricane Center. It is referred to as the Tropical Weather Outlook. All right, so a little tropical wave, this little wave out over the Turks and Caicos now, expected to move across the Florida Straits in South Florida and end up in the Gulf. And in the Gulf, we think that there's, over the next 7 days' time, a 30% likelihood of tropical cyclone genesis. All right, then from there, a little wave out here over the central Atlantic, not dubbed an invest yet, working toward the Caribbean and then eventually kind of over toward the Turks and Caicos, has a 30% likelihood over the next 7 days. In orange here, that's Invest 99, has a medium 40% likelihood of developing over the next 2 days' time. And out here, Invest 98 has a high 70% likelihood over the next 7 days' time. So let's start with Invest 98. You can see that counterclockwise rotation there. It has now passed the Cabo Verde Islands. Basically, the idea is that we could see a tropical depression form there over the weekend. So there's a bunch of stuff. Now, what we need to do is really dive into the model data there, right? But in this case, just to give you an idea, if that is a tropical depression that forms, not really expecting to get much. It's kind of going west-northwest and will probably recurve eventually and stay out to sea. All right, so that's that one. Then we switch over to Invest 99, and you can see it there kind of at the center of your screen. Not terribly well organized, but it's something. Computer models on this one kind of bring it toward the Caribbean islands and then start a bit of a recurvature. And then there's the other wave that's out ahead of that. You've kind of got a wave here in the Turks and Caicos area out near the Bahamas. That's going to be the one that works into the Gulf of Mexico. And then based on our wide perspective, there's another wave very near 99 that kind of works our direction. So there's a lot going on. Okay, now what I'm just saying here is there's stuff. Let's take it together and let's look at the global computer forecast models, okay? And if you're new to Coffee Talk, there's over 500 people in here this morning, so certainly we're going to have some new viewers. What we do on Coffee Talk is we try to break things down so that you can understand. So one of the things that I do is I look at the raw models. This is the stuff we look at in the Weather Center while I hit my desk, while we're working on the weather forecast for you, okay? So this is the GFS, mean sea level pressure normalized anomaly. In other words, what we're looking at is pressure, where it's a little lower than normal, where it's a little higher than normal, that sort of thing. And you can kind of see right here, you've got those two like blue dots toward the bottom of your screen. That's tropical development, right? You kind of got 1, 2, 3-ish, like the tropical stuff. At the moment, nothing threatening us, right? But I do want to point out, like Sunday, Monday, you've got something east of us, and you got kind of something like west of us. Nothing big. No massive hurricanes coming. At least not in the rest of August, according to the GFS, okay? And then another wave out over the open ocean. Like there's a bunch of stuff. Look at that. It's like two ships passing in the night in the open Atlantic. You see that? Right? Like one in the North Atlantic, one in the South Atlantic. So the good news is the GFS is showing a bunch of weak garbage stuff, which is fine. Maybe they get a name, maybe they don't get a name, but there's no big threats. Okay, that's the GFS. Let's come back to the beginning. Let's look at the European. All right, and right there, it's kind of developing 3 right in a row there in the Gulf of Mexico, and then moving something weak into, 3 right in a row in the Atlantic/Caribbean, and then something weak out in the Gulf of Mexico. All right. and according to this, which is kind of interesting, like could have something approaching like South Texas there and another something out over the Gulf. Oh my God, I need coffee. Something approaching South Texas and then another something in the Caribbean. Campeche. Okay. Okay. All right. Back to the wide view. Now that's kind of interesting because what you end up with is that system in the Caribbean kind of crossing over the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and then just like sitting over the Turks and Caicos. Interesting. And then doing what no storm does, which is go into Jacksonville. That's the European. And then kind of loop around and go up the Carolina coastline. Now, I do think that the Carolina coastline, and we published this in our hurricane forecast back on March the 1st, but I do think that in this time frame, the Carolina coastline is going to be an area that it has to watch. So that's the European. Let's come back. Let's look at the Canadian. Good gravy. What the heck is that? All right, Canadian. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see that? Caribbean is 1. Near the Antilles is 2. Central Atlantic is 3. Another wave coming off the coast of Africa is 4. And then another something in the Gulf of Mexico on Monday is 5. Like, slow your roll, Canadian gem model. A little something maybe around. Now, the gem is showing something around South Texas. You can see it there. Same timeline, something in the Caribbean. I did it correctly. Still, anyway. Campeche, I need a drink. Okay. Look at the Canadian model throwing a bunch of stuff. Developing something east of us. Good gravy. All right. Let's see. I'm just looking to see. The UK Met. Yeah. All right. So anyway, so there's that. Let's look at the ensembles. I was just checking, people. Okay. All right. Ensembles. So let's just back this up. All right. So ensembles showing activity developing in the Central Atlantic. You see all those L's, right? And then we're starting to see homegrown stuff around the Caribbean by Wednesday of next week. A bunch of stuff around the Caribbean. And then more activity out in the open Atlantic, right? But let's bring it closer. Switch over to this product. This is the product that kind of cuts through the fat, right? All right, so Wednesday of next week, not much. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, starting to watch some models developing something in the Gulf, others kind of keeping stuff around us, and then east. So that's interesting. Let's back it up. Let's look at the European ensembles. Now, interesting, right off the bat. So I actually really like what the European is doing. And I think that this is what has been confusing every other model. What you've got is there's that here. Let me show you. Stand by, give me 2 seconds. Hold on. I'm just going to update this graphic. Oh, hell's bells. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, stop it. Making sausage. Hold on, people. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Yada da 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 da. Okay. All right. So the thing that I think is throwing everything else apart and making the GFS in particular kind of struggle, I think, meteorologically, is this little tropical wave that I think the models are having difficulty with. So you've got 2 waves here. So again, if we go to the wide shot, all right, for development here, you've got Invest 98, you've got Invest 99, and then right near Invest 99 is another tropical wave that's moving east. And then over the Bahamas, you've got this wave moving over to the Gulf of Mexico. So right in the Atlantic, there's several areas of vorticity that I think the models are struggling with. So what's interesting, watch now on the European ensemble, and I think the Euro has got it. Okay, so watch. So what you end up with, look there over Florida, 1,004, 997. So you've got some ensemble members taking areas of low pressure weak over Florida, and then developing them into the Gulf, right? You see that? That makes total sense. Like one ensemble member developing, 2, 5, 9, 15. So what they're doing is they're taking that first wave, this one, and they're bringing it across Florida weak and then developing it in the central and western Gulf, even if it's just a depression. But the Euro seems to have the best handle on this, okay? And then in conjunction with that, you've got stuff from that next wave, which is here. You've got stuff from this wave moving into the Caribbean. You see it there on the bottom of your screen, and that kind of starts to recurve. So if I put it onto this mode, you've got your Gulf stuff, and then you've got that Caribbean stuff recurving. 1, 2. And now, remember, the models were kind of splitting stuff, some to the Gulf and some to the east. But they're two separate systems. And that's where I think that the models have been like, I cannot understand this. So now I like this. I think this is probably my forecast thought. And I think that's what the Hurricane Center's forecast thought is as well, right? You've got that weak wave that moves in and tries to develop in the Western Gulf. That next wave moving into the Caribbean, getting picked up, recurved, more than likely staying out east. And then afterward, it's kind of just all over the place. All right. What say you, Canadian ensembles? Hold on a second. So that's the European ensemble. Let's go back to the GFS just to show. See, the GFS is not even picking up on much of that Gulf feature. A couple of ensemble members there, and then the rest are just all over the place. So I think the GFS is not handling it well at all. I mean, if I were to visualize what I think is happening, absolutely, Euro with one wave, there's the second wave. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's go over to the Canadian ensembles. Yeah, see, I don't think the Canadians picking it up much either. There's the Florida wave-ish. Barely. But there's the Florida wave working over to Texas. And then you've got the stuff around Florida. But I think that the Canadian is still trying to sniff it out. Really and truly, to me, the European absolutely has that thought process, I think, worked out. Yes, this is complex. I'm sorry if it's just like, does everybody understand what I'm trying to say? Like, I've gone into deep nerd mode, and if it's been too much, I'm sorry. Does everybody understand? I'm asking the class here. Does everybody understand? Janice says busy tropics. Busy tropics indeed. Does everybody understand? I mean, that's just, I like what the Euro is doing here. Yeah. Jennifer, you got it. Yasmin, you got passionate. I did. I got passionate. Christy, makes sense to me. All right, good. Cheryl, good. Betty, got it. Ann Marsh, it's all good. We're listening. Good. Nikki, you got it. Karen, okay, good. Thank you. Ari says described well. Thank you. It's a lot. There's just a lot there. I 100% understand if you're just like, huh? But I'm really I want to make sure you all understand, because if there's one thing that I want to make sure, even before Cat 6 girl went off on her little tangent, it's I want to make sure that y'all know what's going on. There's a lot going on. Is the Gulf area of concern part of the LRC West Coast Florida? It's not the West Coast Florida. So we did put, because there were some signals in our long range forecast, there were some signals. Area of interest was South Texas. There was definitely a signal, more Mexico, but it was an area of interest. But no, what we're looking at the moment, that Gulf thing is that. But I think that second wave is the Carolina storm system part of the pattern, which comes August 21st through the 29th. Yeah, so we're working right through. But it's this. I mean, this is a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. Terry says the whole thing is scary. It shouldn't be scary. We'll follow it together. The whole thing's a lot, though. It's a lot. I just want to make sure. Yeah. Nick says, I understand ensembles, Fujiwara, everything, but simple question. What is a tropical wave? You know what it is? A tropical wave is just a little blip of tropical moisture. It's just an area of unorganized stuff. Think about it like an acquaintance. That's the best way I can think of it. Like, you're a friend, you're an acquaintance. Well, what's the difference? With a friendship, we've got an organized friendship. With an acquaintance, it's like, oh, there you are. Hey, how you doing there? How you doing there, Tom? You know, that kind of a thing. Yeah. And Marsha, our morning wouldn't be the same without you. Thank you, Annie. I appreciate it. Don says, you're the expert. That's why we love listening to you. Thank you very much. I try to always learn. Matthew's asking, what is the BSR showing for these storms? So the BSR is kind of showing this Gulf thing being weak, and the Carolina thing being a thing, and then after that, a West Coast Florida thing being a thing. So, yeah, it's all there. So we'll watch it. All right, so that's that, friends. Now we look to the 7-day forecast. Stormy weather around as that little tropical wave moves through South Florida and brings us moisture. And then for next week, probably going to end up in an area of subsidence, kind of between tropical areas. So we'll bring our moisture chance down just a little bit. Is that you freezing up or is it my internet connection? Suzanne, it's you. I see 0 dropped frames on my end. I'm sorry. Yep. All right. Lots of stuff to track, and we will track. Brand new model data comes in today. At 3:30, we will be discussing this. We will be keeping you updated and have our afternoon coffee talk. Sound good? Chris says, now the forecast heat, that's something to be concerned about. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like 99 again, but we do get back to 95. So, yeah. Jennifer, when does the Nicole part of the pattern come through? I'll say this, first couple of weeks of September, we'll really have to be watching. So enjoy this slumber, even though there is a kaleidoscope of colors that we are tracking out there. Yeah. Brian, with this unexpectedly abnormally weak El Nino season, who says that? But go ahead. What does that mean? We're in an abnormally strong post-La Nina season? There's a lot of assumptions there that are not accurate. El Nino is still strengthening. So at this point, nothing, you're talking too many assumptions there. But I will say El Nino is continuing to strengthen. And a good example of that is what's going on in the Pacific with a Category 4 hurricane heading toward the Baja of California. Okay? All right, that's it. I will see you at 3:30. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you all for hanging out. I said good day, sir.